And now we're going to talk with professional handicapper Brandon Shively, right? Returning guest Brandon Shively. What he's going to discuss with us today is some of the best and worst teams from college football last year in terms of ATS results and what we might expect from them this year, right, Mike Brenner? Because every year, you remember last year, Washington State, all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, was covering year in and year out. But Stanford, not out of nowhere, they do that every year, also had a good year last year. ATS, Brandon Shively, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thank you, Peter.
All right, Brandon, we got a bunch of teams that you've looked at that were at the top of the standings in terms of ATS results, and the bottom. What would you like to start out by discussing with us?
Yeah, just, looking at the teams from last year, Peter, you got Toledo that was 9-2-1 ATS. This year it's going to be hard for them to cover that many games. Mainly they have a new head coach. They only returned 4 starters on defense. They got an inexperienced defensive line. Secondary is pretty inexperienced too. They're gonna have some inflated lines at home, and I think it's gonna be a good spots to fade Toledo this year. You mentioned Washington State. They were 10-3 ATS last year. This year they do return a heavy bulk of their offense. They're gonna put up points. But I think the lines makers are going to adjust a little bit. There's not going to be nearly as much value. You see Washington State last year, they won 4 games straight up as an underdog. They're not going to be that big of an underdog this year. So, a lot of these teams, Peter, I'm discussing right now, I don't think they're going to be good, as good covering this year. Simply the fact you have new head coaches, you got a lot of these players gone for graduation. At the same time, the odds makers are going to adjust these lines. They got torched last year. They're going to adjust them. There's not going to be nearly as much value. We can talk about a team, Bowling Green. They were 10-4 ATS last year. They bring in a new coach in 2016. They lose their quarterback that threw for 46 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. Lose 4 of their top wide receivers. The offense is not going to be nearly as potent. Dino Babers, the old head coach, he took all of his assistants with him except for 2. So I think Bowling Green in the MAC is going to be a team to look to fade on numerous occasions this year. I don't see them covering a whole lot of games. They went 6-0 ATS last year as a double-digit favorite, just blowing folks out. So I think the lines might still be a little inflated this year. There's going to be value on the underdogs. We got one other team, Peter. I'm sorry. South Florida last year, 9-3, one push ATS. Great covering team. Went 3-0 against the spread as a home underdog. The target's going to be on their back this year. I think South Florida's offense is still going to be really good. A well-balanced offense with the quarterback, running back. They're going to put up points. But again, I don't think there's going to be that much value with South Florida. Possibly a good over team, though. There's one game on their schedule. They play Cincinnati. I believe they put up 65 points on Cincinnati last year. The Bearcats are going to have that one circled, Peter.
Hey, Brandon, this is Mike Brenner. There's 2 teams that were some of the worst, ATS last year, UCF and Hawaii. Now, years past, these teams were not that bad against the spread. Obviously, you had a major coaching situation go down last year for UCF right in the middle of the year. All right, do these teams rebound, and how does the book adjust to these 2 teams at the bottom of the pack? And will they possibly be, kind of under the radar again this year as far as being terrible against the spread?
Yeah, I hear you. Central Florida was 2-10 ATS last year. But you look at this Central Florida team from 2012 to 2014, I believe they won about 34 games combined. They beat Baylor in a bowl game. So as a school that had a lot of football tradition, this year they bring in Scott Frost as the head coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Oregon, so he's bringing Chip Kelly's playbook down there. And I think Central Florida, as far as against the spread goes this year, is going to be one of the best covering teams in the nation. Very undervalued. They're going to put up a lot of points. So they're, after last year it was miserable for them. They return a lot of starters. Like I said, I like the coach. The offense is going to be able to put up plenty of points. Also, possibly a very good over team. I think Central Florida puts up 30-plus points a game this year. I really, really do.
Yeah, there's one thing about UCF also, because since Blake Bortles left, it's never been the same. But before that, all right, they had some solid recruiting, and I look for that to kind of continue. I think for the first 3 to 4 weeks, this team might be under the radar, and I think they might cash some tickets, because with that coach coming aboard, with that playbook, of course it's going to take some time, but it won't take the books too much time to adjust to that line. I kind of like the intake there. I think I'm going to look to kind of back UCF on certain spots. Now, Charlotte, a team 2-7-2 against the spread last year. I don't see a big difference there. Do you think this team remains a cellar dweller in ATS production?
Yeah, I looked at this Charlotte team. They're still a very young team. Second year in FBS. I think it's only their 4th year as a football school. So, of course, they return a lot of starters. It's really due on their quarterback play. They got a Miami transfer coming in by a kid by the last name of Olsen. He's supposed to be pretty good. It's yet to be seen, you know. So it's a team you're gonna have to monitor. I think their defense will be a little bit better. You might catch some good value with them, but I definitely want to watch, see these first few games with Charlotte. Back to Central Florida, I think you're right, Mike. There's going to be some good spots to back them. Week 2 at Michigan, they're going to be getting, probably 39 to 41 points. They're going to be getting a lot of points. Might be a good under the radar, big dog right there. But yeah, for sure, Charlotte. I'm gonna watch them the first few games of the year and see what happens. There's potential. I think they might be another good over team. Like I said, they pushed the pace last year. They're 10th in tempo, and I think this new quarterback from Miami transfer could put up some more points for the offense.
All right. Well, I think that the one question that everyone is wondering about is Stanford, right? For many years, Stanford, an undervalued team. They were a great bet ATS year in and year out, but expectations are rising. They are the favorite to win the Pac-12 this year. Last year, they were 10-4 ATS. What do you think? You think expectations are going to be appropriate this year, or you think they're going to be another team with betting value?
I think Stanford lines are going to be a little inflated this year. You look at them last year, they went 5-0 ATS as a favorite of 11.5 points. That's remarkable for a team to be laying double digits in the cover like that. They lose Hogan, the new quarterback. I think we're going to see a little drop in offense, which could lead for it to be a little harder for them to cover. They have some tough road spots this year, couple tough home games. I want to see how the odds makers adjust, but if they don't adjust accordingly, I think there's some good spots to actually fade Stanford this season.
All right, Brandon Shively, thanks so much for your thoughts on all this.
Hey, thank you, Peter.
Have a great day, Brandon.
All right, hey, Mike, we'll talk to you later, buddy.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.